Hey y'all, so I have been watching Truman Capote versus the Swans on FX. It's a show produced by Ryan Murphy, the same man who gave us American Horror Story. Um, this is season two. The first season covered Bette Midler and Joan Crawford's feud, and that was 7 years ago. Um, so I was certainly aware of Truman Capote, who wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's and Cold Blood, and then he also was one of the stars of Murder by Death in 1976, which was a parody of the old detective movies. And he's a very interesting character, and so I wanted to pull up his chart and just give you guys a quick overview of what I see here. So first of all, let's look at his big three. He has Aquarius rising, his sun in Libra, and moon in Scorpio. So among his big three, he has air, and water. So he's lacking earth, which would probably account for his lack of grounding, and he's lacking fire, which can probably account for his manner of speech that really jumps out at you. He really sounds like droopy dog. So as an Aquarius rising, Aquarius is the rebel of the zodiac, and he can either be a someone who stands up and fights for you like a humanitarian, or he can even be a bully or an exploiter. Now, when we talk about these zodiac signs and planets, all these archetypes, they have what you call a high vibrational frequency and a low vibrational frequency. And we always want to tap into the high vibrational frequency in our chart just to be better people, to grow spiritually. But sometimes we fall back on these negative aspects of ourselves. And we see that Aquarius rising in Truman Capote with him really going against the grain, being very colorful in his character, mannerisms, being artistic and creative. Also, what was I going to say? The negative side of that was how he really befriended people in society and wrote about their secrets and exposed them. Now, if we look at this, the ruler of his first house is in his second house. So that tells us that he values money, wealth, and he may not necessarily want all those things for himself, but he wants the appearance of it. His values often change based on the people who's around him. I was told, or I read somewhere, that his mother was very much a social climber, and she really imparted these values on him. She never really made it to the upper echelon, but Truman really insinuated himself into the lives of these powerful people and traveled into their circles, even though he didn't necessarily have all the money and wealth himself. For him, with Uranus in the second house, money came and went. I believe it was in either the first or second episode. It took him a really long time to write one of his books, and he was being forced to give back his advance, which I believe was $400,000, which he did not have, and which was a motivating factor in him writing this article about the swans in Vanity Fair and exposing all their secrets. Now, the moon in the 10th house, the moon is all about how we nurture ourselves, how we get emotional satisfaction. And so Truman really wanted some degree of fame. The 10th house is all about our public reputation, our public life. And with the moon in it, he really took a lot of emotional satisfaction from people knowing who he was, being recognized on the street, being seen, being talked about. And with Saturn in the 10th house, he also probably wanted to be recognized as some type of authority figure himself, even though that Aquarius rising made him sort of rebel against the status quo. The other thing that really jumped out at me here is Mercury in the eighth house. Mercury is communication and the exchange of ideas. It also governs writing and communication. And the eighth house is sex, death, and subjects which are taboo. So he wrote about murders and death. He wrote about sex and sexuality. He exposed his best friend's husband cheating on her. So that he really did draw on that Mercury in the eighth house. And with Virgo, he probably thought he was doing a service to the world, being helpful, exposing this, and part of his art as well. The other thing that jumped out at me was his, where do I see it? There was something about his seventh house. Well, Venus in his seventh house shows he really wanted to be loved and he really wanted money, and money came to him through partnerships. That was it. The ruler of his second house is in the, let's see, Pisces, Neptune, that's it. Ruler of his second house is in his seventh house. So he really needed other people to help him make money. And if you watch the show, he really did use other people to help him make money. Again, he exposed these people's secrets. He had a lover who was a banker. He sort of, love and sex sort of combined there. He really needed someone, especially in his later life, to really control him and direct him with his money, or else he just squandered it and was not as successful. And when the women, the swans, sort of iced him out, that's when his reputation and his money really started to leave him or fail him. What else do we see here? Oh, I'm really surprised by the Mars in the first house, because I really would have thought that he would appear as more masculine. He was an effeminate gay man, but that just really gave him a drive to succeed in his life, and it gave him a powerful presence. When he walked in a room, people knew who he was. What else here? Also, the 11th house of friends. That sort of goes back to the thing with the swans. He has Jupiter in his 11th house, so he expanded and grew through his friends and his social network. And when they withdrew from him, again, that's when he suffered. What else did I see here? Pluto in the 6th house is all about his health and work. So he did leave, his work did leave a powerful presence on the world. Pluto is about transformation, destruction, and rebirth. And so every book was a different story. He really poured into that. What else here? I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say here. Oh, Chiron in Aries in the 3rd house. His wound probably surrounded something to do with communication and gossip trivia. So he was probably the subject of a lot of gossip in his youth, and that's where he got a taste of how gossip can give you power and it can take power away. And so he was probably trying to call back some of his own power by exposing powerful people around him. Yeah, again, this is just like a quick overview of the things that jump out at me. He is a very interesting character. I would like to take this chart and study it more in depth when I get a chance. And if and when I do, I might come back and do a larger, more detailed chart reading on that. But this is just the things that if someone came to me and shoved their chart in my face and said, what can you tell me about this person? What really jumps out at you? And I didn't really get into the chart shape, quadrants, hemispheres, and a bunch of other things, but I think I gave you like a really good broad portrait of Truman Capote and how his chart showed his motivations as to why he did some of the things that he did. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this really quick video and have a great day, everybody.